Hi, my name is Lungile Mbokane. Welcome to my artist circle.
So, Mr. Mbokane, tell us who you are, and for those who don't know you, like, tell us more about you.
Okay, so Lungile Mbokane is like a Johannesburg-based artist. I'm a graphic designer slash artist. I'd like to define myself as a multidisciplinary artist because I use different medias. So I'm just an artist in general. I studied a Bachelor's of Arts and Graphic Design, so that gives me the pleasure of having best of both in terms of like digital and traditional way of doing creative work. So that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay. So, growing up, did you ever picture yourself living a life as an artist?
Yes. I mean, for as long as I could remember, I don't see myself, I can never remember doing something else other than being an artist, So, for the most part, I never really had much. I wanted to be a pilot, but then I think in the back of my mind, I've always known that I'm going to be an artist.
Yeah.
I think that was just a formal way of saying, because when you grow up, there's not like so many options about what you can be. So pilot was like the nearest thing. If I was not an artist, I think I was going to be a pilot, not the other way around.
Yeah, I think we all go there. We get to that point where we decide that we're gonna follow our like what seems formal
and then then life changes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, would you encourage your kid to pursue an art career?
Yes, I would, definitely.
Why?
Reason being, it makes me happier. I mean, picture this, you're getting paid for doing what you love, For me, it's not like work, it's not a career, it's just me, in the definition of thing. So even my work, you will see the creativity, it's just me, It's not, I don't take it as work. Okay. It's work because now there's certain guidelines that need to be followed and all that. But other than that, I don't picture it as being work.
Okay. So, if it wasn't for you being an artist, what would it be?
That's a tough one, eh? I don't know. I think I'm struggling to answer that because, as I said, I'd want to be a pilot, but now looking at it now, I don't think I was going to survive. So I don't think I had many options. But I'd probably be like somebody who's doing marketing, something along those lines, still within like being creative and all that. So I think maybe I'd be like
marketing in the agency,
or I'd say in the agency, corporate, not so much me, but yeah, like somewhere in the advertising space, I'd be somewhere there. Yeah.
So do you like the agency world basically?
That's a difficult one. I think it has. I'd say I do. Reason being because of like what comes out of there. I mean, that's where you meet a lot of creativity. That's where you get to grow as a creative altogether. So I do love it, and I do want to be part of it. Obviously, I'd say, I do. Now looking at it, it's a space that I'd see myself dwelling for a very long time.
So do you think the merging, you having to be a graphic designer and an artist helps you with your art, during your art process?
Yeah, it does. It plays a lot of advantage because that also makes my creative process unique, because I can tap into both, sides as opposed to like, being a traditional artist where you just use, let's say, for example, paint or charcoal, or being a digital one, you can just explore, there's just a lot of like avenues that can just like tap in,
Okay, cool. So so now here's a question that's like kind of imaginative, since you're an artist. So do you believe in superpowers?
Yes, I do. As an artist, yeah.
So what would your superpowers be?
I'd say being pretty much being fast.
Fast.
Yeah, I think being fast is what you need in this
like
current time.
Movement or like create, like in what sense, basically?
No, in terms of movement, no creativity. That's always thing. Creativity it's always been fast. You know, it comes and it hits you. It's gone. You grab it. You know, so I'd say in movement-wise, because I get to do a lot of things at once. Because of I do a lot of things. So if I had the pace and the speed, you know, I'd actually get around in a lot of things in time. You know, yeah.
Okay. So what challenges you've faced so far in the journey of becoming an artist?
There are a lot, you know, it's not easy. Number one, you need to establish yourself, you know, as an artist, you know, you need to create a hub, you need to have audience, you need to have people who are going to trust your process and also who are going to believe in your craft as much as you believe in it, you know. So that in itself, hence we find ourselves in like studios like this, like MK Studios, you know, you meet such people who believe in your talent, and then they help you to just take that leap of faith, you know. So without them, it just becomes hard, because as an artist, we like to be confided in our own space, you know, and that itself is a challenge, because you want to be creative, you don't want to be disturbed, but also at the same time, it's also a disadvantage, because now after you're done creating, what happens to the work, you know. So those are like some of the challenges that you face as an artist. I'd say for me, you know, okay. Also like, you know, just getting your work out there, you know. There's a lot of artists out here. What makes you different, you know?
Do you think, because we know that you basically currently based in Oslo.
Yeah.
Do you think that also like forms part of your challenges in?
No, not at all, not at all. One thing that I'd say I'm proud about where I'm from is that there's a lot of creatives as well, you know. So at least there's now a well-established, you know, base in terms of like connection-wise, but also, it's not fully there. It's slowly getting there, but I wouldn't say it takes. It forms part of the challenge, you know. Either way, I'd feel it was supposed to be like this. So even if I was elsewhere, I was gonna still want to face the same obstacles one way or the other.
Okay. So Hypnotic, what kind of art is that, and how did you find it?
Yo, Hypnotic was just like an alter ego that I just developed, you know. So he's just somebody who's doing things that I cannot do as Lungile, you know. I feel like as a person, when you're yourself, you know, there's a certain limit you can do, but Hypnotic is the kind of, you know, person that I can tap to and just switch on and just be whatever I want to be at that particular time in terms of creative wise, you know. So it's the kind of art that just like speaks to the youth, just speaks to anybody who feels like, you know, I want to do things that seem impossible with the naked eye, but you know, when you think of the vision and the belief in it, they become possible. So in short, that's just simply that. It's something that induces you to just being something else.
Okay. So how has your style changed over the years?
It has changed in many ways, you know. I think because, first of all, first few years as an artist, you want to find identity, you want to establish yourself. So you also struggle with that as well, you know. You'd explore with different mediums, and you'd say you are this, and then the next you find that, no, this is not it, you know. So as you grow as an individual, so does your art capabilities and also your understanding of art. So over there, it has changed drastically, because now I'm more in touch with myself and what I want, you know. So I've played on like even like my advantages and disadvantages of like as an artist, you know, just making all that work for you in a sense of like being a complete artist. So that's what has changed, you know. I believe more in myself than I did, let's say, a couple of years back when I started doing art.
Okay. So what is your dream project?
My dream project is to have our own studio, man, that can, you know, help other artists, you know. I want to have like a studio that's like, there's like a traffic studio, you know, whereby people can just come in and go, you know, see different type of works, you know. Doesn't matter you're big or small, you're studying, or whoever you are as an artist, you can just come and just get people who can like look at your work and help you improve and just become a better person. So I feel that's like, that's my dream project, you know, as an artist.
Oh, so would you? I can hear that you have a sense of like a community in terms of like this, how this studio is formed. Yep. So my next question is, would you basically collab with other artists?
Yes, collaboration is one big thing. That's very like I feel like it's very, very good in terms of like being artists wise. Like we need that a lot. That's what helps people, you know, prosper. That's what helps people like reach different heights. exchange of ideas. Without collaboration, there's none of that. You know, it's a very it's something like I'd say it's something that like I strongly emphasize, like collaboration as artists. You know, no matter who you are, it's yeah.
And if just in a random, if you would collab right now, they say right now,
Yeah, like
and
at this
you call
moment,
someone and
yeah.
they would answer, who would it be?
I'd say one of the people who shaped my career most of the time. I'd say at the back of my mind, Cindy Sunyon. You know,
Okay.
reason being is he's been a mentor from a distance. You know, so by the time we met in person,
Right.
we've already like exchanged a lot of like ideas and already like helped me shape my journey. You know, through his story. So that's one person I would definitely want to collaborate with. You know,
Cindy Sonyan.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So, do you plan on selling your work anywhere else besides like places like studios and galleries?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But
What platforms would that be?
I'd say digital platforms. You know, one thing that I want to do. Hence, like I wouldn't even be able to define where else. I want my work to be accessible. That's one thing that I want. Accessible and also affordable as well. You know, so that's where I'm trying to range in terms of like creating accessible work that's good quality and also that's like accessible to like anybody who feels like they can buy the work, because I feel like that's one of the stigmas about art. You know, when you just see art, people automatically assume it's expensive. You know, it doesn't have to always be expensive. So anywhere that I feel suits my work, I'm more than willing to just give it a try. You know, if I deem fit for the kind of work that I do to sort of like go and sell. Yeah.
So, do you think where the world is going currently with like the digital art space, the spaces of like digital and where there's like now AI being created
Yeah.
and like platforms of like selling art, do you think that's a good thing, or you prefer like the old style of selling
It's a good
art?
thing. It's a good thing. I mean, guys, the world is changing, so we cannot always, you know, rely on the same ways of doing things. It's a good thing, and also reason I say that I'm also like a best of both worlds. You know, I do work digitally, so that work is actually meant to be sold digitally as well. So I'd say it is a good thing.
Do you
know,
think
I mean,
it would take away from the original art, like the original creation?
Yeah, that's one question that always comes up. I don't think it does, because I mean, the same effort that goes to creating traditional work, I believe is the same effort that would go to creating digital work. The same thinking, the same creativity. It's just that you apply it differently. So I don't believe it will take away anything. You know.
Okay. So how does your work influence societal issues?
I think number one, self-belief. You know, I think my work stems from like in terms of like society-wise. I'm trying to like address being yourself more than anything. You know, I think that's one of the things that we do. So I'd say more on the mental side of things. You know, in terms of like being creative, to sort of like creating whatever that you can at that particular time, working with what you have. Recycling, I use most of the things that I do. I'm the kind of artist who use whatever. You can give me a board, paper, and whatsoever. I'd use that. So I always see gold in the next thing. You know, you might see trash, I see gold. So that's also plays a very, very good thing in environment in terms of like we don't see things the same. You know, I think everybody's allowed to just view things in different like point of view and different perspectives, and that's where I feel I come in terms of like my work, in terms of like I'm addressing those issues in terms of like one person sees trash and then I see gold in it.
Okay. So, how do you define success as an artist?
That's a difficult one, you know, because you might think you're successful until you reach a thing. But I'd say as an artist, I define it in the sense of like being one with yourself, being authentic in what you do, and also believing in the craft and not changing, you know, in terms of like compromising your art because of like, let's say, whatever platforms or whatever reasons or whatever characters, you know. So I'd say success is like being you and still being wanted for that, you know. People want you for who you are and what you do. I define that as success for me, because you're not changing anything, you're just being yourself, you're being your authentic self in the work that you produce and in everything that comes in. So that's for me success.
You're saying success to you, in short, is that it's a space where you can still be yourself, but even when it's basically being humble, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Even like in bigger platforms, because you change as you go along, you get recognized, you get the mind and all that, and then all of a sudden things change, you start to change the way you do art.
Yeah.
You no longer, now you understand, like, you change your style a lot. So I feel like those, for me, are what, like, that's why I'm tipping in terms of, like, even if you meet me 10 years from now, you still meet the same person that you met, like 5 years ago, with the same type of style. Obviously, I would have evolved in terms of style, but in terms of style and quality, but I'm still the same person now. I'm not compromising the kind of work that I do.
Okay. So, one last question.
Yep.
What would your last meal be if it all ends?
If it all ends, what would my last meal be? I think it would be like a good plate of hake and chips, I like seafood, so I think that would be like it for me, just a well-grilled hake and chips and some sauce. I'll be sorted. That would do, yeah. Nothing complicated, nothing complicated.
Okay, so that sets the tone for our next section, which is this or that.
Okay.
So now we're gonna be asking, basically, understand this or that.
Or that,
you
okay.
have to choose one. If you want to explain, you can explain.
Okay.
So test the waters or dive in the deep end.
I test the waters. So I need to, is that why? Test the waters. Test the waters.
Why?
Because you wouldn't want to like dive in without knowing what's in it. Like, is the temperature good? Is it cold? Is it warm? Are you gonna swim? Are you gonna drown? So test the waters.
Winning a lottery or finding your soulmate?
I win the lottery, bro. Win the lottery.
You think everything will just
everything else, like lottery is like a base of it. The soulmate will come from the lottery, trust me.
So you don't think that will actually cloud the judgment of, like, is this person?
No, I won't. I'd still win the lottery, bro.
So, okay, glass half full or glass half empty?
I say half full.
Half full.
Yeah.
So is that your perspective?
Yeah, I'd say half full, yeah.
Okay. Comedy or action?
Action, bro.
Yeah. You like to sit at the end of the
like
seat?
action.
Art museums or art galleries?
Art galleries.
Okay.
Art galleries.
Okay. Do you think there is a need of art museums still? Like, there's still a need of art museums?
Yes, I think there is. I think they have a good part. They preserve history, so they play a good part in that. History is important in terms of, like, knowing the future and where we're going. So there is.
Okay. Fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Yeah, fiction.
Okay. So save 100 strangers or one loved one?
One loved one.
Why?
I mean, because that's where my heart is. I mean, I'd save strangers, yes, but then what about my loved ones? I feel because that's like the core values of, like, what I believe in, your loved ones, So they're closer to me than, 100 strangers. So it's the same thing as, like, when you reverse winning the lottery. Who would you give, 100 strangers or one loved one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's my concept on it, yeah.
Success or happiness?
Happiness, bro. Happiness.
Okay. So pause time or reverse time?
Pause time. I'd rather pause time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather pause time.
So do is it that for, like, just to take
just take a deep breath, like woosa, and then move on in life and do other things,
understandable. Especially at this, like, day and age.
I understand. Yeah. So reversing won't really do much good. Just pause, think, and continue.
Okay, last one. Lose sleep or skip a meal?
I'd rather skip a meal. Yeah.
Why do you think
sleep is important, right? I mean, when you sleep, when you wake up, having a proper good sleep, I feel you even forget that you need to eat.
Yeah.
You know, because your body, physically, spiritually, you know, you just one with yourself, you know. So I prefer to skip a meal.